You guys absolutely loved the first video. A lot of you wanted to see more about the terrain and map border, so here's the supercut of the map segment from that video. This is a direct continuation. We call back to and build on top of what we covered there, so if you haven't seen it yet, you absolutely should. I've been told it's a banger. Anyway, enough yapping. Let's dive right in. We've all stepped out of this cable car and immediately looked back, wondering, what happens if we just go back? Can we reach Eagle Nest 1 from Eagle Nest 2? Well, let's try. First, I went to the coordinates of Eagle Nest 1 while inside Eagle Nest 2. And as expected, nothing was loaded. No buildings, no nothing. The terrain was pretty much untouched, though I did notice some very interesting textures on the ground and hills. Then, I went to the coordinates of Eagle Nest 2 while inside Eagle Nest 1. Same story. Nothing loaded apart from some strange textures on the ground and hills. Now here's a fun detail. The castle is actually located in the hill that the cable car travels towards at the end.
In the cutscene, Anya says the castle is 50 kilometers away.
The castle is perched up on a rocky outcrop about 50 km from your presence.
Says you have to take a cable car because they might shoot you down if you go by helicopter. But in the game, the coordinates for the castle are only about 3 kilometers away. And here's how it would look if it was loaded in, looking towards the Eagle Nest 2 coordinates from the cable car location in Eagle Nest 1. Pretty far, but still in range to shoot down that helicopter if they really wanted to. What do you think? Anyway, let me show you how Eagle Nest 1 would look if it were fully loaded from the other side. You can very easily make out the whole base from this angle. And just look at that. This is, in my opinion, the best looking level in the game. The lighting and textures on this level are done so well. The game looks absolutely beautiful here. Right after exploring Eagle Nest, I thought about the border crossing and resupply pair. Those two levels take place right after each other. Even in the story, there isn't any break. And I've heard that at some point in development, these two levels were actually a single level, so I decided to go to the border crossing coordinates from inside Resupply, and lo and behold, the molded terrain was still loaded. As far as I know, this is the only level that randomly loads another level's terrain all the way in the middle of nowhere. And these two levels aren't anywhere close, they're 18 kilometers apart. So every time you're playing Resupply, 18 kilometers away, this terrain is also loading. Just think about that. And do you remember those barrels in Border Crossing? I talked about them in the previous video. I think they might be leftovers from when these two levels were joined together. The Resupply mission has a lot of barrels in it. It's one of the levels with the most barrels in the game. So it isn't unreasonable to think the devs missed some of these barrels when they split the levels apart. In my last video, I quickly glazed over how the God mission and Eagle Nest 1 take place in the same spot. Here are some more images to show you exactly how they're laid out. And did you ever wonder where the helicopter comes from? It spawns right over here. The spawn point is actually totally visible if you just walk a little way in this direction. The helicopter just pops into reality and starts flying towards its destination. And by the way, did you know that if you attack the helicopter with a Law 80, the game actually crashes? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked again. Next up, border crossing and nuclear infiltration. I quickly glazed over them in the last video too, so let me give you some more shots. These aren't the only levels that take place right on top of each other. Levels 1, 3, and 9 also take place fairly close to each other, with 1 and 3 being right on top of one another. Level 9 spawn point is also fairly close, but that level actually faces away, so there isn't any overlap. It would have been so interesting if both levels shared the same train tracks, but unfortunately they don't. Missile Train Yard's tracks just abruptly end. At least Train Yard's tracks go into a tunnel. Now, here are a few shots of the same place, but from different levels.
nuclear infiltration, Eagle Nest 1, train yard, military airbase. The same hill looks vastly different due to different textures and weather effects.
And if you're wondering which hill this is, it's just this hill from the side of Radar Base. See how this level has a special texture for its surroundings? That's right, the terrain has just two default textures, dusty and snowy. But every level applies a different texture specifically over and around its level area. Take a look at this top-down shot from Radar Base. The level area has this texture applied, but if you go slightly beyond it, you'll see the same default base texture underneath. Some places even far away get the special texture, if they're very visible from the level. The best example of this is the Get Pre-Boy level. In that mission, the terrain is mostly flat and the visibility is decent, so a massive patch of land is textured green. Now let's talk about the world border. As we discussed in the previous video, the world isn't infinite. The textures abruptly stop rendering if you keep going in any direction. However, unlike Minecraft, the game never stops you from going further, and the ground is solid. It's as if the terrain is still generating, but just not being textured, so we don't immediately fall off into nothingness.
If you walk into the untextured area, your hands and weapons also stop rendering. You can still shoot, but something is immediately off: the audio. The sound appears as if it's not coming from the gun itself. Instead, it's coming from the closest rendered area. I tried using the grenade launcher on the M16A4, and the grenades do get fired, but they only appear once they enter the rendered area. Now let's walk off into the nothingness and see what happens. I faced the rendered area, then kept walking backwards for a very long time. After a while, something interesting happened. I fell off an invisible cliff and died. Let's retry with invincibility enabled. Okay, so I kept walking backwards. The textured area slowly became less and less visible until it blended with the void. With nothing to reference, it was totally impossible to know what was happening, so I had to enable the coordinate display. After that, there were some invisible hills, but no major problems. I just kept walking backwards for around 100 kilometers, and the ground was still perfectly solid. I quickly tested the guns. Nothing changed. No rendering, same displaced audio as before. I decided to keep going. The ground was perfectly solid until 524 kilometers. After that, no solid ground. You just fall forever. 524 kilometers. That's exactly double the distance of the rendered textures, which means there is 3 times more solid ground without any texture rendering than there is with it. And right at the edge of the solid border, the weapons and sounds became normal again. How weird is that? They just started acting totally normally again. I did some quick research. It's a computer science thing. Nerds can pause and read while we keep going further. We do have the no-clip cheat, which lets us float anywhere. I activated it and kept going further away. Nothing particularly interesting was happening, so I started straight up teleporting myself further and further. The position values kept rising, and the gun and hands started rendering again, but they were totally bugged. The position values were so high that the game was really struggling to figure out where anything was. The guns were rotating on weird axes right in the hands, and even the magazine was all messed up and detached from the gun. I kept teleporting further and further away. I was now so far away that the game was confusing position with rotation. All I was doing was moving my mouse around, and the character was also moving around out there. I didn't stop there. I just kept pushing, further and further away. I entered such a high value in the teleporter that it displayed infinite. I knew this was it. The game would surely crash now. To my absolute surprise, the game still didn't crash. but the mission actually passed. I was doing this in level 1, Train Yard. I reached infinity. As far as the game was concerned, I was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The game thought I was near the truck, so it passed the mission. I decided to do the same thing in Radar Base. This time, the game didn't pass the mission. The coordinates display was showing some strange value, but I could still look around and fire weapons. I wondered, what happens if I go back to the mission area? Would the game let me? It did. I teleported back to the level, and the alarm was raised. Enemies were rushing to my position. This proves it. The game thinks I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The cameras see me and raise the alarm. I retried in Get Preboy. Same thing happened. I decided to try again on a mission with no alarm system at all. And what happened totally blew my mind. I teleported to infinity in the SAM base mission, then started shooting everywhere into the void. I threw grenades, launched M16A4 grenades. Soon, I started taking non-stop damage, as if something or someone was shooting at me. Then, suddenly, I picked up guns, as if I'd grabbed them off the ground. But I was still in the void. I kept shooting and throwing grenades. Eventually, I stopped taking damage. When I teleported back to the mission area, every single enemy was already dead. The whole SAM base was a ghost town. I tried to recreate this again, but I couldn't. While trying, I did manage to totally bug out the enemy's aiming logic. I had my cheat for non-stop firing enabled. I let them shoot at me before teleporting to infinity. After I teleported back to the level, all the enemies were stuck shooting in a random direction. Usually enemies stop shooting, re-aim, and shoot again. The cheat removes their ability to stop. I think there's something profound to learn here. Like, aim high, but don't aim towards infinity. You might get stuck. Or something like that. I actually wanted to show this in the last video, but didn't have clean footage for it. Now I do.
Did you know the bullets enemies fire don't come from the gun itself? That's right, it actually comes from their... Well, take a look. Jokes aside, it actually comes from somewhere near their chest or stomach, not the gun barrel. And that's it for this one. More videos are coming soon. I'm also working on IGI 2's videos. I managed to remove that stupid "Jones, you're leaving the target area" thing that doesn't let you explore further, and I've already made some mind-blowing discoveries there. Stay tuned. That's all for this one.